So will they win games? Well, the Oklahoman predicted every single game for the Oklahoma Sooners, and we'll discuss that coming up next here on Locked On Sooners.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Again, thanks for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there. Tune in and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. Jay, the Oklahoman dropped their early 2025 season prediction for the Oklahoma Sooners, and Joe Masato had OU going 8-4. What's your initial reaction to that?
Yeah, I went through to look at the games to see which one he said we were going to lose, and I've got so many questions about some of these choices. Like, I'm intrigued that he has Oklahoma starting the season off 5-0. So you start the season off 5-0, you head over to Red River, and then they think that they don't do well against Texas in Red River this time around. Texas has had a lot of changes there. So I don't understand why Oklahoma, with the returning production that Oklahoma has on both sides of the ball, like even less on defense than they did last year, while at the same time having majority of the players that played still there, Texas is revamping their entire offensive line. I give them past the OU game before I feel like that will be good. And they just did a refresh on coaches. Now, that could be a good thing for them. But that one to me was like, the score is probably what threw me off more at 34-19 in comparison to just the loss. And in the South Carolina game, I don't know, man. I don't know about South Carolina winning a game if Oklahoma doesn't turn the ball over a lot.
Yeah.
Like three plays in a row.
Yeah, you don't know what that game would have been otherwise. Like, who knows what it could have been? Could it have been as bad as it was? Sure, it could have been, but you never got a chance to find out because the game was over in the first 5 minutes of the game. With Texas, could they be better than Oklahoma? Yeah. Could they beat Oklahoma? Sure, it's a rivalry game. Sure. Are they 2 touchdowns better than Oklahoma right now? No, they're not. If you want to cut a line on it, it's probably somewhere between 3 and 5.5. And I think that's probably a reasonable place to put it. Again, it's a rivalry game. Oklahoma, revamped its offense, brought in a big-time quarterback prospect in John Mateer, and you're banking on Arch Manning being everything that everybody says he's going to be. You're banking on the second coming of quarterback Jesus. Like, this is what you're banking on.
Baker Mayfield.
And if he's not that, it could be underwhelming. Remember, Quinn Ewers was a 1.0000000 recruit and prospect as well. And everybody by the end of his career was pretty underwhelmed. And they were hoping that Steve Sarkisian would go to Arch Manning. So, listen, I'm not going to sit here and predict this game right now, but I'm going to sit here and tell you Texas is not a 15-point team. It's 15 points better than Oklahoma right now. South Carolina, man, who knows? That's just going to be a tough game because it's a tough road environment. And then you look at some of the other ones. They got Oklahoma beating Ole Miss in a narrow one, 24-23 at home. And then you go on the road and you play Tennessee, and they got Oklahoma winning that one, 35-31.
But then the Alabama game is what threw me off next, too. It's like, I would understand if Alabama had Jalen Milroe coming back, and I would totally be like, yeah, there's a good chance Bama gets that revenge.
Yep.
They do not have him coming back. They got Ty Simpson or Austin Mack or freshman Keelan Russell is going to be the quarterback in that game. I'm not going to jump all over this and say that any of those three are going to be Oklahoma right now. Not today. I won't. I can't say it. If Jalen Milroe couldn't do it in Norman when Oklahoma was atrocious on offense, I cannot pick any of those dudes today at all. So, and with Oklahoma fixing so far, on paper, the one problem they had, which is going to be consistency at quarterback. No, I don't see that one turning out 28-20. I think it's going to be a tough game. I'd say a heck of a lot closer than that. I don't even think Oklahoma gives up 30 points next season, if you want me to be 100% honest.
To me, it would be less surprising if they lost to Tennessee than if they lost to Alabama. Like, I'd be more surprised by them losing to Alabama, given, again, the turnover that they have at quarterback. Now, You listen to our guys, Luke Robinson and Jimmy Stein over at Locked On Bama, and they'll tell you that these guys are going to be better fits for what Kalen DeBoer wants to do on offense. Yet they're going to be making their first swims through college football as a starter. And we know how that can go. It could go great, but it could also go really
bad.
Yeah. And there's everything in between. And if Oklahoma's defense is as good as we think it's going to be, which I think it's going to be really, really good, it's not going to be an easy game for Alabama's offense to try and get anything done. So, yeah, I mean, to me, I wouldn't, if I were going to predict these games right now, I might flip-flop those, have them lose in Neyland Stadium at Knoxville and maybe win in Tuscaloosa. I know that sounds crazy to think that Oklahoma might be able to go in, but it's not Nick Saban there anymore. It's not. It's Kellen DeBoer, and he's got a lot to prove. Yeah. Just kind of finishing this out, and then they have Joe Masato's got Oklahoma beating Mizzou, and then losing to LSU to close the season 8-4. We didn't really touch on it, but he hasn't beaten Michigan, which I think a lot of people look at that one and think, yeah, Oklahoma could absolutely win that game.
Yeah, I 100% agree there too. It's that Michigan game that's the one that I feel like is going to be the measuring stick for Oklahoma. And the best part is that it's early in the year. Again, this is another team that's got another quarterback situation that they're revamping. But Michigan has struggled at quarterback for years. Like, I mean, even with J.J. McCarthy being a 5-star that he was, they weren't that great at quarterback. It's always a team that's just run the ball, run down your throat, be super physical. And that's the way that we want to play too. Yep. So I don't think that that's something that really scares or concerns me. I like the thought of us pulling it out against Michigan. Taking down Missouri. The LSU game, though, is interesting. That score feels a lot higher than it should be at 41-28. Because this past season, we didn't have much of an offense, and the game was a lot closer until we gave up that special teams touchdown. Yep. And then it's like the whole offense forgot how to play again. We were going to go into the half with the lead, just like we did against Ole Miss. But Garrett Nussmeier should be able to prove himself this season that he deserves to be considered one of the top, if not the top quarterbacks in the SEC. So I don't think that that's too far-fetched to think that it's a 13-point game. While at the same time, I would like Oklahoma to get a little more respect on defense. Right. Especially with a competent offense. Yeah. Get a competent offense, we're not giving up 41. I would like someone to give Oklahoma just a little respect on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah. Oklahoma's not giving up 41. Eli Bowen's going to be a lot better than what he was at the end of that game against LSU this last season. You're going to have better cornerback play on the other side. Your pass rush is going to be better when you've got Armies Thomas and pick one, Marvin Jones Jr., Danny Okoye, Adepoju Adebaware, Taylor Wayne coming off the other side. You're going to be a little bit better, more consistent as a pass rush team. And you're getting year 2 Jaden Jackson. You're getting another year of Dominic Williams in the defense. You're getting another year of Kip Lewis in the defense. You're getting that safety group that, listen, Billy Bowman's great. I think it's still really, really good with Robert Spears Jennings and Peyton Bowen and Jaden Hardy and Reggie Powers III and Michael Boganowski. Like, it's still a really, really, really good unit. So if I was picking that game today, I'd probably pick LSU to win, but not because they're scoring 40 points, but because it's a close ball game and they're able to get, just a little bit more. They might be the team. If I was going to pick one team to score 30 on Oklahoma this year, they'd be the team. Definitively. I just don't know if they're going to run away from Oklahoma quite like that. Any final thoughts on this before we get out of here on that one?
Yeah, the Ole Miss one is intriguing because it's a 1-point game. And Ole Miss, like everybody else, lived in the transfer portal, had a bunch of turnover, lost a lot of defensive players going into the draft. Like a lot of these teams we playing against lost a lot of kids in the NFL draft. Yeah. And Gabe and Teddy talked about it over there, the Oklahoma breakdown, that Oklahoma, we've got to do a better job of getting more guys at the spot where they can get drafted. Well, all these teams are losing those players. The question still is, will they be able to replace them immediately? And I don't know with the quarterback situations of most of these teams that's going to happen. So,
yeah, Ole Miss lost Jackson Dart. They lost a lot of talent on both sides of the ball.
S3 is starting, man.
Yeah, like Trey Harris is gone, Princely's gone, Walter Nolan's gone, Chris Paul's gone. It's like a group that should have been in the playoffs. It was really disappointing they didn't make the playoff. Our guy Stephen Willis at Locked On Ole Miss, he'd tell you it was the best roster in the SEC, and they disappointed.
Yep.
So they're going to be better or worse in 2025? My guess is worse. Will OU be better, though? We check out FanDuel's win total for the Oklahoma Sooners for 2025 coming up next.